go with them. In your name, I pray. Amen. Join us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening and call this meeting to order. First, we have approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as it stands?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Next, we have the good news portion. Dr. Rice.
For the first one, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Collins.
In lieu of the regular Educator of Excellence celebration, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction Exceptional Children's Division has created a new way for districts to recognize outstanding educators, related service personnel, and special education support staff providing services to students with disabilities. Extraordinarily exceptional educators will be presented with a certificate, and their picture will be posted via a virtual recognition board on the NCDPI Exceptional Children's Division website. Recognitions of nominated staff will occur 3 times throughout the school year. Our third and last recognition of this school year goes to Amy Jurgens. She's a speech language therapist at Walnut Cove Elementary School. Here's what Mr. Bobbies had to say about Amy. Walnut Cove Elementary would like to nominate Amy Jurgens, SLP at our school. Mrs. Jurgens has been at our school for 1 year, but in that short period, she has become a leader in our EC department. From the onset of the school year, Mrs. Jurgens was vital in helping our teachers understand the process for developing individual contingency plans for all of our students during remote instruction. During the different phases of instruction, Mrs. Jurgens made it her top priority to meet with her speech students and provide services virtually or in person. When we had our resource teacher take medical leave for over 4 months, Mrs. Jurgens stepped in to help with IP meetings for students and is a leading member of our school's MTSS PBIS team. She is a professional, and we are excited and honored to have her working at Walnut Cove Elementary. And I would say that Amy has spent much time with us, not only helping Walnut Cove, but the district as a whole. She's vital in a lot of the interviews that we have and keeping our speech therapists the new ones that we receive, so we're very thankful for that. Congratulations to Amy Jurgens for being an extraordinarily exceptional educator for Stokes County Schools.
Well, I would be okay with that. I'd be okay with that.
Great job.
We're going around there.
Mr. Bottoms, if you need to step up after Ms. Jessup, that's fine. Mr. Bottoms is taking a picture, and I said if he needed to step up and not get the back of your head and his shot, it'd be fine. Number 40 instead of number 2, and then go back to number 2. All right, well, we have our students here. That's number 8.
I just want to take a couple of minutes to highlight the partnership that we have with the Stokes Arts Council. This has been in place for 46 years. They have been a partner and a friend to Stokes County Schools for a long time. It's a strong partnership. It's a great benefit to our students. COVID has been taxing for us all, but they have found a way to persevere and to benefit the students of Stokes County in some real trying times. And they've continued to serve our students for this. We're extremely grateful. I wanted to share just a couple of programs that have been offered throughout this year and that have made 2020, 2021 successful for our students and some of their experiences. First off, we had the Piedmont Opera that was celebrating Beethoven. They had a virtual celebration that was offered to our elementary schools, which was a nice program for them. Our middle and high schools celebrated Black History Month with 2 productions that were done online in the classroom with Mike Wiley Productions. We received a game apart for our middle schools and One Noble Journey for the high schools. That was a story of Henry Box Brown, who was a Virginia slave who mailed himself to freedom. They continued their scholarship program, awarding 3 scholarships to Stokes County, totaling $5,000. The high school gallery exhibit was completed, but this year it was virtual. And they've also continued with the Junior Mountain Music, Junior Appalachian Music Program. This is a program that's grant funded through the Arts Council that provides music lessons with traditional music and dance for our students. Participants can enjoy field trips for arts, crafts, etc. And they tailor the program to our students with 2 locations. They have the Music Center in King and the Arts Council in Danbury. Students in grades 3 through 8 may participate. It offers group music lessons at a great cost for our students. Prior to COVID, nearly 45 students were served. During COVID, this is about 25 students that had continued with the program. It's been offered face-to-face with parent support. And the goal of the Junior Mountain Music Program is to preserve Stokes County's musical heritage. And once again, I just want to say a very special thank you to the Arts Council and Eddie McGee for being the partner that you are to Stokes County Schools and for all the things that you offer to a very rural area. You bring some great programs to us, so thank you.
And this is certainly not an all-inclusive list of everything the Arts Council does for us at all. This is highlighting a few. And the only reason we don't do more is probably because we haven't asked for more. I know last year when COVID hit, and this is the partnership that we have. Last year when COVID hit and we went to remote learning in 1 week, one of the things that concerned me is how are our arts programs going to do online learning? Again, we hadn't thought about that before, and so we were thrown right into it. And so some of the things we saw were some of these virtual field trip type things where the Smithsonian allowed a camera into the zoo and things like that, where people could take these virtual trips. I walked across to the arts place one day and Mr. McGee was sitting in his office and I said, is there anything the Arts Council could do for our students, daily, weekly, something with an arts focus? His eyes lit up and he said, next week, we'll have it ready. And they had artist talks, they had baking bread, they had all different kind of programs all through the end of the school year. Every week, they put together a focus on the spot, just how we were thrown into online learning. He did it as well with his artist, and our students benefit from it. And that's the type of partnership that we have, that you ask for it and it's done immediately. And I just am very grateful for the partnership we have and the friendship that we have and all that you do for our students.
Thank you. It's our pleasure to be here tonight. And again, I'm Eddie McGee, the Executive Director. I have one of our board members, Andrew Young, who is also an instructor for our JAM program here at our Danbury location. He's also a Stokes County School faculty member. So I don't want to delay this. I'm going to let him speak a little bit about, I think Doug said the program, typically pre-COVID and post-COVID, we will get back to our numbers, 45, 50 people, 50 students. And this year we've reduced to around 25. Parents were a great help. And let me talk just for a second. Some of our supporters of our program include the IBMA Foundation, which is International Bluegrass Music Foundation. Former Sheriff Mike Marshall, a big supporter of ours. And also Chris and Morgan Stapleton. I don't know if you listen to country music, but Chris Stapleton is one of our individual supporters of this program, which is, not everybody gets to say that. So, Andrew,
Alright,
take it away.
so this group, 3 of these members have only been playing since about October. Paxton Green, he has been playing with us since we started 3 years ago. Yeah, so, they're gonna do 2 tunes for each night. The first one will be Bound Cabbage Down, and then we'll do Old Joe Park. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
And board, if you'd like to join them for a picture?
We'll get a picture with those guys. I just want their autograph. They don't want a picture with me.
Very good. Very good.
So, indoor.
Thank y'all for doing it 6 months, but I've been doing it 60 years.
You guys tried next year.
No
You did a
problem.
great job.
Well, thanks.
Thank you so much.
It's something you don't get to learn. That's really
Yeah.
good. It's-
And here comes the first picture. We will do two. There's one. Here's one and two. Great job, students.
Thank you for helping me roll it. The other picture. Right.
Mr. Rose, would
We
you like
still
to
have one more, correct?
do the middle
Okay.
one now? Or Ms. McGee?
You did a great job.
Good evening, Board. In April, schools held their math fair, in February, March, and then in April, we had a district math fair. Typically, we do not have a district math fair because they go on to regionals, and we do not narrow it down at the county level because we want to send as many students as possible to the math fair in order to represent Stokes County. But this year, because the regional math fairs were canceled due to COVID, the schools asked me, could we do a district math fair? And I said, absolutely, we'll figure out, we'll make it work so that the children got the experience of the competition. With the math fair, it is very different than the science fair. With the math fair, the students actually go through an interview process and they discuss how, with interviewee panel of how they came up with their math fair project, what they did, what types of mathematics they used. So in your binders, you have pictures of all the students who competed and won at the district level. Bless their hearts, they had to interview virtually because we competed virtually. So you talk about kindergartners talking to a Google Chromebook, talking to people they don't know and answering questions about what they did mathematically. It was pretty amazing to watch that happen. So we wanted to recognize all the students who won at the district level. They have already received their medal from the district level, and Ms. Boljak will get their certificates to them. They weren't here tonight just because due to the number of size of children that would be and parents and families. So we invited them to watch us virtually and then told them they could also watch once it's posted. So in the K2 category, first place went to Addie Stokes. Second place went to Toby Bowles. And third place went to Elizabeth Duncan and Ava Hall. And you can see the three schools that competed this year was King Elementary and Poplar Springs Elementary and Pine Hall Elementary. It is completely optional. These are the schools that chose to participate. For the third and fourth grade levels, first place went to Maddox Dillon, Pine Hall Elementary. Second place went to David Lee Rose and Tucker Morrison from Poplar Springs Elementary. And third place went to Kinley Brown of King Elementary. And then fifth grade, and this is how they are developed into categories at the regional level. That's the reason why it's spaced out in the grade spans that it is. Fifth grade, first place went to Cameron Myers, Poplar Springs. Second place went to Cadence Moore, Poplar Springs. And third place went to Luke Wallace and Levi Yates at Poplar Springs. We are very proud of all of them for competing, for coming out of their comfort zone. Not only did they compete at their school level, but then they came on and participated and competed at the district level. We appreciate their teachers, their schools, their administrators supporting them, supporting the teachers, and continuing to build our mathematicians in the District of Stokes County. Thank you.
Next, we have public comments. Mr. Johnson.
Madam Chairperson, the agenda for each regular monthly meeting will include a time period for citizens to address the Board of Education through public comment. Prior to each meeting, a form will be available for any individual or group who indicate a desire to address the Board of Education and the topic to be addressed. A 3-minute time limit will apply to each speaker. Groups are to select one spokesperson to address the Board of Education on the group's behalf. Except when deemed necessary by the Board of Education due to an emergency or other exigent circumstances. Information received during public comments will not be acted upon at the time it is received. An official response on behalf of the Board of Education requires the approval of the majority of the board and will be issued by the board chair or his or her designee. Any response by an individual member of the Board of Education shall not be deemed an official response from the board. Grievances, complaints, or concerns related to individual school personnel or students will not be heard at this forum. Other channels have been established for the consideration and disposition of a grievance, complaint, or concern that involves school personnel or students. Superintendent will discuss with and make available to any individual or group the policies and procedures for this purpose. We have 2 individuals who have signed the list to speak tonight. The first is Tucker Miller. Miller.
Hello, board. I'd like to thank y'all for being civically active. I understand as a working parent, work, school, soccer games, there's not a lot of time to devote to stuff like this, so thank y'all. I'm sorry I had to be here today, but it just came to my attention, the proposed change in time for school today. I understand there was a survey, but I never received any of that. My son is a student at Lawsonville. I didn't get anything home. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't really see stuff like that. My first introduction to the time change actually came from my son this morning. And so I looked into it and found it was true. So I understand y'all won't respond publicly, but I do have a request, and this isn't just rhetorical. I'm curious as to the ones who voted for this time change, if anybody can answer this question. Can anybody tell me what date on the 21 calendar will be the first date that elementary school students who don't go to school in King will be required to be at school prior to sunrise? Does anybody know? Y'all voted on. Does anybody know when the kids are going to have to be at school prior to sunrise? The first date is October 4th. Then there are 3 entire months where elementary school students are going to have to report sometimes as much as 35 minutes prior to sunrise. Now, I'm not sure if this was anything that was taken into consideration by anybody when they voted on it, just bus schedules and whatever. But starting on October 4th, elementary school students as young as 5 are going to have to be at school, tardy bell, before sunrise. So did anybody know that? Had that been researched at all or considered before this was voted? So you'll go from October 4th until November 6th. Every day, the students are going to have to be there prior to sunrise, sometimes more than 30 minutes prior to sunrise. Then daylight savings time starts. They get a slight break. Then starting on December 5th, all the way through February, these students are going to have to be at school prior to sunrise. Now, we're not talking about waiting on the bus. We're not talking about waiting on inclement weather What time is all this stuff going to have to transpire to be done appropriately? You know, and so then it'll be all the way until February, every school day until February, from December 5th until February 6th is going to commence before sunrise. Then there's another 2-week period in March. So I just wanted to know if that was something that had even been considered by the board and the people who made this decision. I know there was a survey. I think there's another parent here to address the fact that they weren't aware of any of this stuff. So potentially, you know, Facebook isn't the best way to communicate with your parents. I know y'all are probably not going to respond, but I just want that to be public record that, you know, my first question was, what about sunrise? When is sunrise? Did anybody even think about that? My mother, who's a retired school teacher from here in Stokes County, reminded me of when they went to, in the 70s, they went to full daylight savings time the whole time. They stopped it because of that. Kids going to school in the dark.
Hi, everyone. My name is Miranda Moore. Thank you for allowing me this moment to express my concerns. I also, not realizing Mr. Miller was here, have concerns about the early school time. I have 2 children in Lawsonville Elementary. They would be coming into school at 7:20. That's very early for these young children. I know because prior to going to school here at Lawsonville Elementary, they were in daycare, which was in Winston-Salem where I work. And we had to be out of the door by 7 a.m. And it's really hard on these children. It really is. It was a tough few years until they started elementary school. And then I was so grateful that that part was over. And to have to go back there is really going to hurt. It's going to hurt the children the most. And also, I too was not aware of this happening. I did not get a survey. Apparently it was done on Facebook, and I am not on there that often enough to see that pop up. So I feel like communicating this to the parents would have been much better if it had come through the school system, sending something home with the parent, with the kids, to let the parents read it and read through it. And also this came across as a tiered transportation proposal. The first 4 paragraphs are about buses. You didn't put anything in there about the early start time until the 5th paragraph. So when you read the first 2 paragraphs, you're already lost because it doesn't matter to you because your child's not a bus rider. So I think you lost a lot of people in that, which you will maybe see in your comment section of your Facebook post where you posted this. There are at least 300 comments from people making negative comments about this because they had no idea it was happening and they had no idea this was going to affect the start and end time of schools. You also have children at different schools with a single household. A lot of us rely on our high school kids to help out with our elementary school kids for after school care. And so when the elementary school kids gets out at 2 and the potential babysitter doesn't get out until 3:30, what are we supposed to do with our kids? It's hard enough already. That school times aren't consistent with work times. I feel like that's what we should be working towards here. And I know this is about buses and finances, and that is a problem, but we need a better fix. We can't have the solution be a negative aspect for our children. Our children should come first, and what's the best for them should be the most important decision here. And I know this is a financial thing. I know we're trying to save money, but we can't do it at the expense of our children, especially our young children. So I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity to speak this for you. I have a lot of support behind me. A lot of people couldn't be here tonight, and those are a lot of the people who weren't able to do the survey. And I also noticed that the survey was sent out to everyone. It seems like 40% of the participants were those from the King area and where this has already taken place. So of course, they probably said yes because it's already happening for them. So that could have skewed the data. And those of us who really say no, first of all, we weren't told about it. And secondly, we couldn't vote on it like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out, and I'm hoping that we can reach out to you and, answer some of your questions and concerns, whether it be email or telephone call, to clarify some of that. But we definitely appreciate your time and coming out and sharing your concerns. Thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll say.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have the discussion agenda, discussion policy 4000A series.
Board, we presented these to you at the last work session. We've included them again tonight. I've not received any questions or comments about these in the last couple of weeks. Mr. Johnson, do you have any further guidance, clarifications, or questions that you've received?
Madam Chairperson, members of the board, as I indicated previously, most of these changes are to conform with changes in references. Most of the policies are the most current. The major change is with the service animal policy. It is my recommendation that they all be adopted at the appropriate time. I do recommend the modifications as proposed by the School Boards Association. I'll be glad to respond to any questions that any board member may have.
Is it time that we act on these? Have they set for the appropriate amount of time, or does it need to be the following meeting?
This is the group that needs to sit for 30 days until our next board meeting. In the action agenda, we do have the 3000 series for approval tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, board?
I say move to action for the next regular scheduled meeting.
Okay. Next, we have discussion of EC contract, the Angels of Care Pediatric Home Health Care.
Ms. Collins?
Board, this is the extra contract that I told you about last time that we were waiting on. It's been approved by Mr. Johnson, and it's for a student that's actually going to start summer school, and they're new to our county. Any question? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have item C, discussion of career and technical education local application for 2021, 2022.
Board, before we move on to that next one, Ms. Collins asked if that could be moved to action this evening.
Make a motion to move discussion of VC contract to action.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That will be action item C. Next, we have CTE, Mr. Rose.
All right, Ms. Barker is pulling up the PowerPoint presentation for you all. I kind of want to go into a little bit more detail of the process, just so that you're well aware. I know that career and technical education is close to all of your hearts. So I want you to see the process of the local application, as well as some of the changes that are going to be taking place next year. This year, beyond the scope of COVID, was a big year for changes as well. And Ms. Barker, you can go ahead and move to the next slide. This was the first year that we were operating under Perkins 5 legislation. There were a lot of things that happened in that our local application moved into the federal grants program in CCCIP. And so the grant had to be written within that. They changed the structure, and there were a lot of things that sort of shifted around. So I wanted you all to see the application process, and then we get into some of the details moving forward and the process that I have to undertake this year. So when we look at this local application, they changed it to where it's a 2-year process. We're on the in-between year. So basically there's some minor tweaks within our budget and we still work towards the goals that we had identified in the previous year's plan. During this year, I'll be collecting all types of data and information to run this comprehensive local needs assessment. And then I'll write narratives based off of that program, and we'll refine our budgets with the 013, 014, and 017 allotments. And I will share what all of those are with you here in just a little bit. So you're aware, the comprehensive local needs assessment, I have a copy of that in the back for you. That is about a 30-page guiding document to help us conduct that, and that's something that takes place prior to writing the local plan. I'm going to give you some of the definitions that have changed under Perkins 5. First of all, a CTE participant is just a student who is taking a CTE course. It could be any of those that are listed in that pathway. I know that's kind of hard to see at the bottom, but I put one of the CTE pathways down there for you. That is our automotive pathway for North and South. A career pathway concentrator would be a student that reached that orange level course that you see there. So this one is one that requires a third level for you, in that you have your foundational course, a prerequisite course, and then your concentrator. So that would define a student taking work keys for now. That could possibly be changing as well. And then the last column that you see, and this is fully optional, is a CTE pathway major. So they've completed the concentrator course. They could take the third level of automotive service. They could do an internship, and then they would get that status of a career pathway major. Each one of our pathways is set up this way. All right. One of the first things we have to do is analyze data. And this is something that the CTE division provides us. They give us the number of CTE participants and our number of concentrators. And then we break down the concentrators who we get their 4-year graduation rate. We get their English proficiency, their mathematics proficiency, and their science proficiency. So we separate out our concentrators and compare them to just our total students to see the impact that CTE could possibly be having in these areas. We look at post-secondary placement. That's where I do the concentrator surveys. And I know there have been some questions about what we could add to that. We can make that slightly more refined, because the information that I get right now is just if they have continued. So it would be, are they in post-secondary, advanced training, military service, or currently employed? So we can add to see if they're continuing within a pathway as well. Then we have non-traditional program enrollment, credential attainment, that has become kind of a priority, and then the program quality. And that's where we look at the participants proficient on state CTE assessments. However, there are now 3 ways to show that proficiency. The CLNA, and I'll just break away from the slide for a little bit here. Within that document that they give me, the CLNA, I take all of the questions and the information from that and split those out to match the group and collect data. So I will set up questions from that guide for our Business Advisory Council, for our guidance counselors, for our principals. And when I conducted this last time, we took a full day and went to the planning blocks and met with every CTE teacher to get them to look and break down those questions and give their responses. Then I shared all of that information and information from NC Careers on what the labor market looked like here and what our job market looked like for the region. And we analyzed all of that data and then wrote out the comprehensive local needs assessment based on all that information that had been collected. So that consisted of an advisory board up here laid out across these tables with all the different documents and data that we had collected, trying to answer all the questions within that CLNA. Then after that, we take that information and I write local narratives discussing the pathways. So we have to list out each and every pathway that we offer within Stokes County in this local application. and we justify why we have that. For example, within NC Careers, they talked about administrative jobs, health careers, and then restaurants as growing areas which support some of the programs that we offer. We have to talk about our career exploration and our work-based learning opportunities. So that's where we talk about our career fairs, internships, co-ops, and clinicals. We talk about our post-secondary credit, how we've partnered with the community college to offer associate's degrees, additional credentials, and certificate programs. And then we talk about our support for educators with recruitment, retention, professional development, and the various things that we offer to our CTE teachers. And then we go into program improvements. This year, one thing that we had focused on was trying to increase credentialing and looking at the overall proficiency in a new system. All right, within the budgets, you all will hear me talk about 013, 014, and 17. 13 is the one that you probably hear me talk about the most, and that's our months of employment. And again, when I first came on, I believe it was at 351 or 352, and I came on in 2015. That has dropped down to 308 for the upcoming school year. The drop has slowed tremendously. We had been at 312 for 2020, 2021, and now we're at 308. The state money, yes, ma'am.
What was the biggest variable with that? Was it overall ADM or what?
Yes, I'm glad you asked, because sometimes there's a little bit of confusion about how that number is calculated. It's not based on the number of students taking CTE classes. It's based on our ADM. Okay, so as we increase the ADM 7th up, that helps our CTE programs.
Thank you.
Thank you. 014 is used for sustaining programs, and then 017 would be program improvement or technological advancement to modernize our programs. All right, so for this particular year, you know that we had to change up our focus a little bit for some details that we had to undertake. First of all, it's the first year that we operated under the Perkins 5 rewritten guidance. Also, with it being the COVID year, we had to shift and focus a great deal on safety. We followed the regular school guidance, which was provided by Dr. Taylor and his team, and within the state's guiding documents. But then there were also some other things that we had to incorporate. With our hands-on learning opportunities with CTE, we received some additional guidance there as well, as far as students having individualized tools, how we could operate in the kitchen, how we could handle our working within our internships. We used waivers that were approved by the state for our internships. Those were also looked at by Mr. Johnson and approved by the board. And then our nursing programs, as you can imagine, they did not get to do clinicals at any healthcare facility this school year. So we had to convert our areas into labs for them to do to prepare for their practicals. The assessments changed. In the past, you know, we've always had the state testing. That was one component that might be there, but you probably heard me talk about in lieu of credentials. That was a term of the past where if you passed a credential, it was deemed to have covered 80% of the curriculum. So that would count as their state testing. Now, any course that has an in lieu of credential does not have a state test. So we have the credential, you have the state testing, or you have a performance-based measurement, which is more like a project that they'll participate in. Which I like, because that's sort of like the work-based learning for them too, actually getting their hands dirty in the process. We looked at how we operate effectively on hybrid and virtual instruction, and how do you take a hands-on course and make that virtual. And, you know, getting these work hours done was something that was real important to us. So, moving forward, of course, we want to always focus on sustaining the strong problems that we have, the strong programs that we have, and trying to advance them in what they offer. Through our partnership with Forsyth Tech, we have the trades building. We have 2 new certificate programs available for Stokes County schools, juniors and seniors, with welding and electrical, which will be starting in the fall. Those again are being offered at the Trades Building in Meadows. And then we're expanding our fire academy. The numbers are very promising with the initial things that I have gotten from our counselors. And we, again, will have public safety, and we're adding the firefighter 1 course for next year.
Doug,
Yes, sir.
hate to interrupt you, but our welding and electrical at our trades building,
Mhm.
is that going to be during the school day or in the evenings?
Yes, sir. In order to make that work, one thing that we're looking at with the students who have signed up, I've asked the counselors to work with them real careful, and if their schedule presents problems, we will use NC Virtual Public School to fill in gaps. That way they're not limited with what we're able to offer, but it will be during the school day.
And also, are they paying for Tech like a student, or is this through the high school?
So this would actually be Career and College Promise, which we both benefit from. We get the ADM, they get the credit, and they receive payment for that as well. So it's not something that we have to pay anything for. Yes, sir.
All right, sometimes I need things slowed down for me.
Okay.
So is this offered before 3:30 or after?
It's offered in the morning.
In the morning?
During the school day.
I didn't catch that from what you said, but
Right.
you used a few big words. And the second one, it does not cost our students anything to go to these classes. It's paid
Okay.
for by the Perkins. So it's free for our students, and it's during the school day.
Yes, sir.
All right. What I want to know, thank you.
Yes, sir. Also want to talk a little bit about some of the marketing for our programs. You're going to see in just a couple of minutes the active social media presence that we see. One of the videos that I'm going to be sharing with you shortly, the pictures were pulled off Facebook pages, a large portion of them. So also, when you go into each one of our schools' websites, you can see the link there for their Facebook and their Twitter. And as you scroll through, you'll see the various postings that have gone out for this. There were media presentations to our middle school students so that they know what programs are being offered. Our college liaisons and our partnership with Forsyth Tech has been absolutely wonderful. They have gone to the high schools and presented the programs so that they know what is being offered. This looks different in COVID year, but typically we offer our parent nights where we can look at enrollment and we can highlight our programs and let the parents see all the kind of cool technology that we have with this. And then with our internships, word of mouth. This has been something that really showed up for within the business advisory. The last one that we had, the group was bragging about a couple of our interns and what they had done. So that's only going to serve to promote our students being selected and the internships continuing. Because if we get a business partner who gets a strong, hardworking student in that program, they'd like to see that continue. And then we want to make sure that we are highlighting our students. And again, these pictures are from Facebook. That's something where we're trying to show off some of the things that we do. I have to highlight the partnerships because legally they're required. Within our business advisory group, we have to have that. That is one that has been written in. The state gave us the bylaws that we have to follow to make that happen. Our partners are absolutely wonderful to us. The Chamber of Commerce, they are on almost the exact same terms that we are within our business advisory. So those members agree to serve on our CTE advisory. Our local businesses are wonderful for our students in that they have workforce development opportunities. Economic development has advocated for our programs and helped out tremendously with our comprehensive local needs assessment. Forsyth Technical Community College, the pathways that we have asked for, they have pursued. They've been a wonderful partner to work with, and they are providing certificates and diplomas for our students, degrees that they can go out and join the workforce. Our state and regional CTE office, they provide guidance in everything that we do. They review master schedules to make sure that we are in compliance each year. And they kind of guard this timeline for me and make sure that I'm doing everything correctly when I submit. So they are kind of eyes on everything, and they offer constant guidance in maintaining the North Carolina CTE Moodle, which gives us all the current information. The North Carolina Association of Career and Technical Education provides wonderful PD for all of our staff members with a new teacher induction. The Rotary Club of King writes a grant each and every year so that we can do a career fair for our students, which unfortunately we were unable to do this year at Camp Haynes. We're hoping that we can get back to that. In order to make the Fire Academy a reality, we have to partner with the local fire departments, and they signed off on a memorandum of agreement with us to work with us and to provide supplies and training as needed. So they're going to be a wonderful partner. And then within the last month, the State Office of the Fire Marshal provided training to our CIMC so that we are able to successfully offer the credentials of the firefighter program as well. That's another one of those legal requirements that we have to do that in order to offer this academy. Just wanted to throw out a couple of shared opportunities that we have. I like to see all of our programs working together. This is something that I've enjoyed watching. Our nursing fundamentals class is partnering with animal science. As they take the cattle through the chute system and they have to do the blood draws, they've kind of participated in that together to look at some of the similarities of things shared there. The Oculus field trips. We've had social studies groups to go into World War I and World War II scenarios. We've used Google Earth to visit and do geography. Nursing students have traveled through blood vessels within that program. And then we have used those for design. Some of you have seen the program where they designed all of West Stokes High School in a 3D format to do virtual tours. Our carpentry programs have partnered with the animal shelter. They've built dog houses. And in order to meet all the requirements and show the NCCER credentialing, you have to be able to successfully do drywall, wiring, insulation, roofing. So these dog houses are top notch. I think there'll be some happy animals. NATEF certification. We partner with local mechanics and industry folks who will certify our programs. And then, of course, the business advisory. Meet with them twice per year. And then also our programs, as you know, if you step foot on our campuses, you can see the influence of our CTE programs with some of the building improvements that a couple of our carpentry programs have done, and then also with our horticulture programs.
Do any of our classes teach the dogs how to use the light switches, or are they just wired?
They're just wired, so we can provide the heat lamps if needed.
Can I get one in like my size?
Already.
I spent a lot of time in the dark.
I've actually went over to West Stokes, Mr. Robertson's class, and saw the dog houses, how they were building them. It's something to see. He's really doing a phenomenal job with the kids. I mean, he's teaching them with the wiring and stuff. They know how a basic circuit in a house is wired and stuff like that on that dog house. That's stuff that they need to know.
Well, and one other thing, when you mentioned, I'm glad you bring that up, Mr. Bryant. Mr. Robertson has gone out, partnered with some of the local contractors. He gets a lot of their scrap material because, you know, with the current price of lumber and building materials, it would eat up our CTE budget. He has made sure that he's asked for as little as possible, and we really do appreciate his hard work on securing those supplies. All right, again, as we have continued to drop in months of employment, one thing that's been real important for me is sustaining our programs and advancing them, making sure that our teachers have what they need to modernize programs and offer the programs and classes that our students want. So again, we've collaborated with our partners to implement the details of the local application. And one thing that I want us to do is to change the script. Again, I know with this board, you all are very supportive of all things career and technical education. I really want to change the script so that folks know trades are alive and well in our Stokes County school system. And in order to do that, there's a couple of things that we're just, starting off with. One thing is, I think, changing the wording of our program so often. Family consumer science. People don't realize that's home ec. As we change the title of some of these programs, it's had an impact. So I'd like to share a couple of the things that I've been working on and partnering with some of our schools with. Ms. Barker, would you click on the CTE district link and log us in? Y'all, this is not live. I wanted you all to see everything before I make it live. and put out the promotion that goes with it. This is a website, and I'm very thankful for Ms. Barker and Ms. Delilah Brady for teaching me a little bit of how to use EdLeo. Again, if you go into the CTE part right now, it's going to ask you for a login. That's something that I can remove in the near future. I didn't want it active while I didn't quite know what I was doing. But again, right there is where it's at. And so within this, we'll get to that in just a second. Within NC DPI, a couple of the first will take you to our state links so that you can get to the DPI CTE website. And then under credentials and reporting, that will take you to a site that shows the credentials and the percentage of credentials by student within the state. You don't need to click within that. Then there's the NC CTE course management system. You can type in a course there and it will give you details about the course and the curriculum. When you click on the pathways, that will take you to a page and there's a link there for you to see every pathway of Stokes County. And then there's the business advisory link. That contains our bylaws and all of the business advisory minutes since 2017. Okay? So trying to modernize that a little bit and share more information and be a little more transparent than our CTE programs. And then I would like to put this out on Facebook. And before we go, I have to say thank you to Forrest Munden. I worked with media folks and got a lot of the pictures and some of the videos that are going along with this. And I just set up a shared folder with Forrest Munden and he kind of worked on this next detail for me. What I'd like to do is have this as a picture with the play button in the middle. And I can figure out that part of the technology tomorrow with a little help. Yes, ma'am.
The career and technical education programs available through Stokes County Schools have provided valuable job skills to countless students over the years. Stokes County Schools continues to add even more opportunities for students to gain employable job skills. And students may choose from a wide range of classes that are part of a pathway within a specific career field.
Yeah, go ahead and start it over if you would.
Stokes County
Yeah, we heard that.
CTE program increase employability with industry recognized credentials and work-based internships. We have worked with local businesses to identify skills our students need. Whether students make a career of their pathway or choose a different route, they will leave with skills that will serve them for a lifetime.
Okay, when you pull that up on your phone, I watched it multiple times with it. The sound quality is good, narrated. There we go. Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir.
The career and technical education programs available through Stokes County Schools have provided valuable job skills to countless students over the years. Stokes County Schools continues to add even more opportunities for students to gain employable job skills, and students may choose from a wide range of classes that are part of a pathway within a specific career field. Stokes County's CTE programs continue to increase employability for students with industry-recognized credentials and work-based internships. We have worked with local businesses to identify skills our students need. Whether students make a career of their pathway or choose a different route, they will leave with skills that will serve them for a lifetime.
So he made that one for me, and then we tied in multiple pictures of that. We had additional ones left over, and we created one that also lines up with the individual pathways. So it shows automotive with some, verbiage there and an explanation of the program, but that's one that we can add later and kind of roll out as we go. All right. You can go to the next slide. All right, on the very last page, the CTE local application is a 122-page document. It is a grant application outlining all of the things that I just shared with you. The comprehensive needs assessment is a document from the state that outlines each detail and the data and how I should collect that before I write the CTE local application. And then lastly, I had shared this in the past, but there are courses by school. And basically what you see there is that each one of our high schools has about, with North and South, I believe it was 45 courses in CTE offered, and then I believe it was 48 at West. But those are, each listed out within the pathways. All right. Lastly, I know I talked kind of fast, but I wanted y'all to see the application process, to hear some of the things that we're looking at for the future and some of the extra opportunities that we're offering this year. And then also to see what we've been working on with our promotional videos and also with building the website. What questions do you all have for me?
How are you planning on launching this on Stokes County Schools website? I'm not talking about just your part. What you put up there was exciting to see.
Mm-hmm.
What you put up there was a great secret that we're keeping that we don't need to keep anymore.
Well, this was one we worked through last week. Again, I've been pulling these videos and sharing this folder with Forrest. I just got this last week. I kind of wanted to roll it out to you all tonight. And then the plan is for it to hit social media and each of our websites probably as early as tomorrow.
I mean, I'm sure somebody interested in a firefighting career in a neighboring county may want to check out Stokes County School. But we've got to tell them.
We're telling you tonight, telling the world tomorrow.
So front and center on the homepage, we don't have to search for it.
Well,
Right.
and
I mean, I'm just, for 6 months I've been harping, we've got to get the word out there.
Right.
So I applaud you for making the initial step. We just got to step a little quicker.
Well, and, with the social media, again, each one of those pictures that I'm pulling really came from a post. I went into our website and pulled our Facebook links and pulled out the CTE pictures for each school. And then I shared that back to Forrest and his team. And, we just had a shared folder among all the media coordinators and some of the folks who have access to that so they could share pictures. And then we built it from there.
The answer to a lot of this is the sharing piece of social media. We can put something out there and it's static. If 10 people share it, and then other people see that and they share it, it gets shared widely, and the word gets out. I think, for example, of the program we have with the credit union in the middle schools.
Mad City Money.
Mad City Money. We have had that for years now. Every year I've been here, we've been doing Mad City Money.
I'm sorry. We've been doing Mad City Money every year that I've been here. And every year we've been sharing that on social media. And recently a board member saw one, I believe, from the state of Washington and said, this is really neat. We need to look into something like this. Well, we've been doing that here, but the people in Washington shared and it got shared and it got shared till we saw it. The thing is that we need to make sure that we are sharing what we're sharing. And so instead of just hitting like, if you go through and see something that you like, if all of us would not only just hit like, but hit share, then other people that may not be friends with Stokes County Schools, but are friends with you, they see it. If they share it, then our audience becomes broader. It's not a pyramid scheme, but a trickle down effect, or what it exponentially moves out. So the important thing is when you see something you like, don't only like it, but share it. And we try to share it. But that's how the word gets out.
Well,
but the flip side of that is, I mean, it's shared. it's seen, and then a month later it's forgotten. Where if it's shared enough that it's important enough that if we put it on our website, somebody interested in Stokes County Schools comes and sees a rolling archive or a building mosaic of projects we're doing. It's not just linked to social media, it's linked to Stokes County Schools. And they don't worry about that header or who shared it. They worried about they're seeing it and it's still going on. It is our World Wide Web commercial that we have to maintain. Social media is great and it's great for that instant pop. But you're going to play hard telling me what you saw 2 days ago on somebody's post that they shared. But you're going to be able to say, oh, look what this school's doing, because on their website, they've got a link that gets to it. And we got to make the links easy. Like Vaughn said, somebody coming into Stokes County, they're going to look at a website if they're interested in getting a house here. So.
Well, and that's the one feature that I really like within EdLeo was the fact that within that website, you've got the Facebook and the Twitter feeds right there. So if you're interested, you can kind of search back. I mean, if I'm coming to Stokes County and I'm thinking that that's where my children are going to go, which I'm very grateful they do, but I would go through and scroll through the Facebook and through the Twitter and see what kinds of things are going on there. And each school has that. And when I looked at the magnitude that we had for West, South, and North, it was pretty impressive. And
I know,
I
the
pulled a
board
lot
made
of
an
pictures.
intent to get Ed Leo in here
Mhm.
because we were tired of static. Now it's time we go dynamic.
But that, the nice thing is when it goes to social media, it gets that initial pop that you're talking about. Then it stays within our website, which again, as a parent, I'm going to scroll to see what's going on in that school. And then I agree, there should be some videos. The only thing is, like with some of them on our website, there is so much information that's required. Sometimes you'll have to scroll down a little bit to get to those videos. Like, I always give credit to North Stokes. I love the video that they did. But it's down the page a little bit. And, when you first go on, you're probably clicking the tabs around and looking. You may not scroll to the bottom and find that fantastic video that outlines what a great school North Stokes is.
So how do we get North Stokes to move to the top since you're over Highfields?
I think that's one that we could always resurface that video. Then it hits that initial pop and the feed so that it's appearing further up the page, because you don't have to scroll very far within the EdLeo websites that we have to get to that Facebook and Twitter feed. So there it is in the middle of the page, and you can find it right there.
Can we not just have, as soon as they launch the page, that comes up and then they have to exit out?
I mean, you could move it up the page some.
I'm not saying move it up. I'm saying, it's like that lost leader. As soon as you launch the web page, that video is playing in a corner. If you don't like it, turn it off. I mean, it's just like us with the.
Like an ad or an advertisement.
Well, it's like the school lunches. Or you launch Stokes County Schools, you've got the COVID update, you've got to click, no, I don't want to see that, or, I've got to delete 3 or 4 things just to get to what I want to see. Well, let's make these videos something we won't have to delete, because we don't know who's watching to start with, but we know we want them to watch.
Okay. Well, again, I kind of wanted y'all to have the premiere of that this evening.
Excellent job.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Rose.
And
Any
yes,
other
sir.
questions?
When I was over there with Mr. Robinson, he had all the painting and all the art class comes and does art on his dog houses. Every one of them is its own individual dog house. He's involved in everything. But he was telling me he was short some tools and stuff that he could. And I asked him to get me a list of, I would look at it, see if, anything more to do with our budget or whatever. I hadn't saw it yet, but is there any way we can get them some more stuff to work with?
We can. We've been reaching out and trying to spend, we've been reaching out to them with additional dollars. A couple of welding tools that were needed within our ag programs. And then also, if they will send that in, we'll do our absolute best to get it for them. Okay. I think if you talk to Mr. Robertson, he'll tell you we've been pretty generous. If you'll check with him, he'll let you know. We take good care of him.
He just tell me, kids brought grills and stuff like that, and grills were.
Yes.
So that's an item that he needs for his grill.
I think we also.
People that will come in there and actually donated drill or something, you know,
Mhm,
for some stuff, and it's worked out good for them, but
mhm.
told him I would ask, so I'm fulfilling that promise.
Okay, sounds good. We'll certainly reach back out to him and let him know, let us know his list, and we can move that up our priority for, if not to close out this year, because we're mighty close to the end of those funds. But we can look at that for 014 and 017 for next year. Okay? And just so you're aware, again, this is a 2-year process. This year, we didn't have to rewrite the entire plan. I just had to reevaluate the budgets to put in the months of employment. And then we do still need to do the approval. I just need to have that complete and turned in before the end of June. So, if you want to move that to action, that is fine. If you'd prefer to wait until June, that is great as well, whatever the desire of the board is. All right? All right, thank you all.
Thank you. Next, we have discussion of relaunch 2021.
Board, as I've updated your COVID update, it was laying at your place this evening. 109 active cases in the county as of last Tuesday, May 11th, 4,195 total cases, which was 9.32% of the population. We have, as of this afternoon, 1 active staff case, which is 0.11% of our staff. And we've had 116 total positive cases this year, which is 12.89% of our staff. Students, as of today, were 7 active cases, 0.12% of our students. And again, that's not 12%. That is a little bit over 0.1% of our students. And 281 total cases for the year at 4.93%. As I'm sure you have heard from last Friday, the governor did ease restrictions again on mask mandates, mass gatherings, and social distancing. And as you saw, that did not include schools, prisons, healthcare facilities, all of those type of items, including schools. But we are expecting guidance later this week, maybe as early as tomorrow, about how that we may be able to ease restrictions on graduations. So I know that would be welcome to our families as well, and hopefully we'll get an announcement out on that by Wednesday at the latest, as graduation start up next Thursday, to allow people for planning for that. So I'm anticipating good news, been in contact with the state superintendent today, and I believe good news may be coming.
That's great. Thank you. Any questions, board? Next, we have the,
Do we need to move that CTE to action?
yes, he would welcome that. Is there a motion to move the CTE local application to action?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Messick. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Bryant. All those in favor? That will be item E,
C.
C,
D.
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 There we go.
D
We're
is
gonna
in
go through
dog.
the.
D is in doghouse.
D is in doghouse. There we go. CTE
What is C?
application. Action item C is the EC contract that we moved. So D is the CTE application. So next we have the action agenda. We have approval of the personnel and coaching report. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the coaching and personnel report.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Next, we have item B, approval of policy 3000 series. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the revisions to policy 3000 series per
Thank-
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Robertson. All those in favor? Next, we have the item C, the EC contract as presented earlier. Is there a
Motion to
motion?
approve the AC contract as presented for a bit.
Thank you.
I second that.
Thank you, Ms. Messick. All those in favor? Next, we have item D, the CTE application as presented by Doug Rose.
I make a motion to accept the career and technical education.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry?
It was given to us as part of the personnel report.
Yes.
Part of the
Personnel report, yeah. Thank you. Next, we have the information and announcements.
Board, you have those items in front of you. Do you have any questions?
And just not on that list, but just a quick reminder, EOGs start in our schools tomorrow. We are in the last 10 days and EOC testing will be the last 5 days. And there is a plan / waiver in place. If someone were to be quarantined for COVID in these days, they would be allowed to take tests past the end of the school year. So the state has been aware of that, worked with us with that as well. But just to let you know that our schools will be very quiet, but very busy for the next couple of weeks.
And also, I see the Educational Bosses Appreciation Week. We thank everyone that's involved with that, and Child Mental Health Awareness, which is very important for the month of May. Any questions, board? Then I need a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion to return to close.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Thank y'all. Have a good evening.
Let me take just a minute break.
Yes, we'll take a 5-minute break.